At 6 o'clock, we'll call the meeting to order. Item number 1 on the agenda is public comments. In accordance with the Open Meetings Act, directors are prohibited from acting on or discussing any new items brought before them at this time. Citizen comments will be limited to 3 minutes. Comments about any of the agenda items are appreciated by the board of directors and may be taken into consideration at this time or during that agenda item. Please complete a public input form if you desire to address the board. All remarks and questions addressed to the board shall be addressed to the board as a whole and not to any individual member thereof. Questions, any comments?
Item minutes about item number 16. Dating the currents, showing like house numbers, moving from the currents.
I'm not sure.
Before that.
That was my intent, yes.
Yeah, so in Savannah, I mean, the house numbers, the mail call, separated for the most part, and also the metal plaques. We guys have an Arrowbrooke and Artesia, but yeah, that'd be great, because it's almost impossible at night to see anything.
Talking about being curbs.
The numbers.
Number.
Yeah.
Okay. I wasn't sure what it was. Tracy Hall.
I had laid my speaker card regarding article number parking with items discussing sidewalks against the Fishtrap or taking any action. Sorry, mine is all this. Taking any action necessary. City of Harper, the property place a crosswalk, Signage, sidewalk, and other traffic zones on Harper Road next to Western Middle School. My question is, why are we continuing to discuss this? We already know across first hand on this. Why are we trying to spend hours on it? It's going to see and why better is.
Remark.
Number 7, review discussion for use of Arrowbrooke Park on the street heading sports stone truck and taking appropriate action to next day. One of the coaches encouraging for here, is here. So I will let you know, if it continues to the drills. But that is a very important thing for the kids. This is tangentially related to number 10, but probably something the board may want to consider for the future. The amenity center parking lot in Artesia has a drive-through from Canada to Artesia Boulevard and back. Pursuant to the Texas Transportation Code 545.423, our officers probably know that one. A vehicle cannot drive straight through a parking lot without stopping. That parking lot is a throughway. People do not go around down Candler to the stop sign at Artesia Boulevard or vice versa. It causes considerable backups down Harper, down Candler, and potentially can cause accidents as cars are trying to exit onto Artesia Boulevard. I would request the board take a look at potentially temporary or even permanent barriers to block off one of the 2 entrances, maybe the one on the Candler side, so that, especially during school zone hours, cars cannot ingress and egress through that parking lot. Thank you.
Thank you.
So last week I emailed all the board members as well as about the lack of sufficient speed limit signs in Arrowbrooke. So according to the Texas WCID, we're actually not in compliance because we don't have speed limit signs where the speed limit changes. And I'm sending you guys a map indicating all the areas where we are missing a speed limit sign, and that it amounts to 9 speed limit signs. 3 of them include our Arrowbrooke's entrances, including Tomahawk, where the speed changes from 25 miles per hour to 55 miles per hour. So we have a speed issue on Tomahawk. We have residents complain, and that is One of the reasons why there's no speed limit sign indicating that when you enter the neighborhood, it's 25 miles per hour, coming from 55 miles per hour. So I am asking the district to please bring us back up to compliance for that, because that is, with that entrance, that is actually very dangerous. And even with the expansion of 1385, it's when you gotta bring it down to like 45 miles per hour. So 45 miles per hour, it's 25 miles per hour, there's still no speed limit sign. So in addition to that, I am requesting additional speed limit signs along Arrowbrooke avenues, specifically around Lakeside Drive and Arrowwood Drive, because the length of Arrowbrooke Avenue is about 1.2 miles. We have about 10 outlets going into the side streets where the speed limit changes. Arrowbrooke Avenue is 35 miles per hour. The side streets are 25 miles per hour. And some of those include the areas where we don't have speed limit signs. So it would be nice to have a reminder along Arrowbrooke Avenue saying that this is 35 miles per hour, and then the side streets, 25 miles per hour. Thank you.
I've got one more comment that was emailed in, so I'll read it for Mr. Anthony Escobedo. To the Elm Ridge Board of Directors, I'm a resident of Arrowbrooke. I live on Grande View. I also volunteer soccer coach with 380 Sports for my 5-year-old son's team. I'm unable to attend tonight's meeting. Personally, I hope the contract partnership with 380 Soccer continues. Youth sports have many benefits for all that participate. These benefits are physical, mental, social, and emotional. It is also true that Arrowbrooke residents do have a valid concern with the parking situation on Saturday, which inconveniences traffic on Arrowbrooke Avenue. A parking lot must be installed at this park location. It seems to be imprudent to install a parking lot and not continue with the soccer organization. It would be just as imprudent to continue soccer and not install the lot. If we weren't using these fields, we would probably play in a league based either in Frisco or Little Elm. I have asked other coaches if the city of Aubrey has fields available, and they stated no. I'm grateful that my son and his friends are able to play in a league that is close to home. I believe 5 of our 8 players are Elm Ridge District residents, and the other 3 live in neighborhoods directly adjacent to our 3 neighborhoods. Once again, in closing, I am in support of 380 Soccer and hope they can continue to utilize the Elm Ridge District Park. Please continue with the installation of the parking lot at this park. Thank you, Anthony Escobedo. Any more public comments?
Good evening. I wanted to take a minute as a resident tonight to express my deep frustration of the district park. I looked through my emails to find I have been complaining about the lack of parking and the safety concern 380 Sports creates since May 5th of 2022. Interestingly enough, the city of Aubrey has installed no parking signs along one side of Frontier, along with crosswalks and flashing signs, whereas Elm Ridge, the one who has created the unsafe matter to residents and 380 Sports participants, has refused to take action. I actually have an email from an Elm Ridge representative from March of this year stating there would be additional parking. And I quote, "We hope to start this this summer in dry weather." Not only did this not happen, but despite resident complaints, Elm Ridge has only taken measures to prevent people from parking on the grass, such as no parking on grass signs and fencing that breaks constantly, is currently leaning and has missing pieces. Furthermore, in previous years, I had many discussions with Elm Ridge representatives regarding the bathrooms and my concerns of safety if these were to remain unlocked overnight. I was told, "We're not putting public bathrooms in to be locked all the time." I was reassured that automatic locks would be installed on the bathrooms, which quickly changed to, "Oh, we'll have to add those on after," which later changed to, "That's too expensive to do now. We'll just have officers unlock them every day." This has not happened, and these bathrooms are only unlocked when 380 Sports is utilizing the fields. I do not want, nor do I expect, our police officers unlocking these bathrooms. They have worked tirelessly to erase the image of Water Police to replace it with Park Police brand. What I do want is the automatic locks we were promised. These are not private bathrooms. These are not 3D sports bathrooms. These are public bathrooms. Moreover, the aesthetic of the park is appalling. The bathrooms in the concession stand was initially supposed to match the pavilion with brick. However, we received a double wide with plastic paneling with colors that do not even match. The baseball fields not maintained because there are no leagues that want to use it. The soccer goals torn apart. The fields are unlevel with massive ankle breaker ruts. There are dead trees and random patches of native grasses that are unmowed. The playground constantly has broken equipment, and judging by the seesaw, not only moving up and down, but from left to right with bolts that are visibly moving. I would guess that no one has even inspected the equipment. Overall, there is not only a lack of pride at this park, but safety is clearly not a concern either. There is no thought, no vision, and this translates to residents and those that rent out the space. Not only is additional parking needed for safety purposes, but so are automatic locks, lighting, and cameras. Right? Why not more district events? 5K with a competition to design the medals and the shirts like they do in Salina. A competition for a mural to be painted on the concession stand. Texas flowers like bluebonnets to be planted in place of native grasses. Minimalistic decorations during the holiday season. Maybe even a sign that says Elmridge Park. It's time to stop scraping by today and start planning for a better tomorrow.
Thank you. More public comments. Do I have a motion to close public comments?
I'll make a motion to close the public comment.
Do I have a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item 2, consent agenda. Directors, have you had a chance to review the items on the consent agenda?
Yes, I'd like to talk about the bookkeeper report. So can we pull that out? I had a couple questions on that.
Sure. Any other questions on the rest of the consent agenda? We're going to have a motion to pull the bookkeeper's report.
I'll make that motion since I said that.
All right, so second.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Do I have a motion to approve the balance of the consent agenda?
I'll make that motion. I don't have any issue with that.
Any opposed? Okay. Bookkeeper's report now? Are we?
I saw that Regina was still listed on the city bank report, and I wondered if we could get that updated. I assume that's probably Lynn that has that card. The card we have, we are trying to get that changed. Okay, this was my question. We have a card. I didn't like the fact that it's had her name, sending money, and that's something we need to clean up. And then I was going to ask you, Terry Carr has a card. Who is that? Terry Carr. Oh, that's funny. Okay. Does he need a card? Yes. Okay. I'll come back to you with questions. I had a few on that. Those are my questions. It just seems like there's a lot of cleanup. You guys saw Regina's name in there. Some little stuff. So
That's it.
that's it.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the bookkeeper's report?
Motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any opposed? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Item 3, the engineer's report.
Good evening, Director, President, and Directors. It's been a while. First item on the agenda is construction project in the district. Active projects, 24 radio street maintenance. Artesia, Savannah, 100% complete, 95% into Artesia, and they're beginning working Arrowbrooke. There's nothing to report on item B, C, and D. Item E, consider approval of construction pay application change order construction contracts. Developer paid invoice to be approved by the Board of Construction Contracts. The C Parkway pay application number 7 in the amount of $157,206. This was supposed to be brought forward last month. The county is coming under the courts and bringing it forward this month.
You said 157. I see one for 154. Okay.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
You need just a second there.
Okay.
My one drive is actually. Contact people for 206, that's for the Teal Parkway. Sir, that's our motion. Okay, I'll second that.
All right, there's pay application number 8 in the amount of $13,944.18.
Motion.
This developer requested, correct?
Yes.
All right. I would make the motion to approve.
Second. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Abstain. Just 'cause I don't understand, why is that 13 now included in the 154 206?
Number 7 was supposed to be brought to the September board, and it was not brought on the engineering report. So number 7 was supposed to be last month, but number 8 is supposed to be this month. So we're bringing forward 7 and 8. The 7 is actually supposed to be following this work, and 8 is supposed to be your September mark.
I see, okay. It's different applications as they go along, street marks, so. Thank you.
You want to write that? There's nothing to report on item F. Item G, consider approval of status of the engineering task orders. Deshawn did bring the TRC engineering Arrowbrooke parking lot expansion design. He had a few questions. I think one of the questions was drainage. That drainage was not seen to be included in the actual design. Drainage is referring to if you're doing sawmill inlets, urban inlets, storm pipe. This is a gravel parking lot, so the drainage is actually going to be handled by the grading plan. So you actually do grading plans. You come on top of the rocks and actually sheet those off to curve to Frontier Parkway. So drainage is not included because it's not a subsurface drainage system. If that's a question about drainage.
It does. My question, because I wasn't sure if it was hard surface or gravel, so.
Yeah, you did have 3 processes that are done looking at different options for the parking lot. The first one, which was gravel, was $365,000. The second one was concrete parking lot with street reinforcement, steel reinforcement. That would have a drainage system in it. That was $684,000. And the other option was the asphalt parking lot, which would have been $537,000. So based on the budget the board has, you can go with either one of these options. The proposal right now is gravel. If you want to do asphalt or concrete, then you're looking into a storm drain system to actually discharge it to Frontier Parkway. Got it.
How much parking is this on?
Six. I brought the master plan that was done way back by Gonzalez. I think this will probably add a little more than 100% of what's there right now. So I don't know exactly what the total is previously. And they didn't have it on the master plan, so you're not paying for that.
You don't know how many parking spots?
On their master plan. But it's traveling, so it's one of those things where you get.
How wide is a parking spot?
So my standard parking spot is 920.
How are these parking spots?
They might be 8 by 20.
So the 8-foot ones are the ones I can't fit in my truck.
Exactly. That's why
9 foot is better for soccer, better for.
big trucks.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so they're not.
I did bring a breakdown of the cost of the design for the NI breakdown, so everybody can see, because typically when they do a design proposal, they have all the senior engineers, the EITs, the panel technicians, and the amount of hours they're proposing to put forward for the actual project. Thank you, sir. So, I will say this much, engineering is very expensive these days. Getting a lot of engineering anywhere cheap like we used to. So you expect to see any engineering costs in the range that they are right now.
So you said that you don't know how many parking spots?
The master plan did not have any.
I think Catherine estimated the new one would be about 125.
So it'll be more than the 86 there.
They're currently about 100 spaces, 75. It's a little bit under 100. I mean, 75.
Just basically as fast as I said, basically going to be bigger than the
I don't think that many people are parking in that current parking lot. I don't think that many vehicles are fitting. So my concern is if this is even going to be sufficient enough.
Parking is always an issue anywhere to go. If you go to Salina or across where the sport field, parking is all the problem. There's always, like when we go to Prosper's sports field, as the game go by, you gotta get a parking space so you can park a little bit next to the actual football field. Salina has the worst to build an expansion to our park and it's the full softball fields, and those parking spaces will fill up any given Saturday. So you know, your property says have parking space, you gotta be on the road. Yeah, I don't mean to see so they go on fresh. The building one right now for 9 minutes.
I don't want to go to the street.
I think for me, there's a bigger issue with the residents, right? Like, which way are we going on the park itself? And so before we solve parking, I think I would want to peel that back a little bit with some of the residents that should help that.
So this is an estimate and potentially to approve this evening.
Yes, this is designed for the Saturday additional spaces.
When would work again?
As soon as we get the design completed.
Which would be an estimated
Yes,
period.
probably would probably about 3 to 4 months to get it designed. So this is the best it would probably be to start after spring when it's dry. You want to leave it a bit of time. So it's about 2 months worth of work. So by summer you should have at least 4 parking spaces.
Would they be able to do this work while soccer is going on?
Should be able to, as long as they don't walk in the grass with parks. That's good enough.
That would have been helpful. I think at least being a resident in Arrowbrooke, I think that the parking is needed regardless if we continue with the soccer field, the 3D sports. We have several people that come and play even during the week, and they are starting to fill up the parking lot completely that we have.
This number is to design, is it a different number to design concrete?
It will probably be a little bit more to design concrete because you gotta get into the pavement design, you gotta get into, and that's, you know, some sort of drainage system. So we probably add about 15,000 to this design. If you want to redo the entire parking lot to concrete, that's a whole lot of cost.
That's what I have in mind personally. The gravel is just, it's a big number. I'm sure it's where
I think there's 2 things here. One is to make the decision whether or not we want to get design done at this point, or if we want to wait a little bit. Because one of the things we got to look at, no matter what, is we've got a couple of other things coming up, a couple of other projects that have been talked about for the communities. We've got very limited budget at this point for the year. And so if you take a look at where the budget numbers are lying, we're not going to be able to do all those projects. You know,
Right, it's actually already in the budget.
Yeah.
Is it already? Yeah, it's already in the budget.
We have budgeted for this.
400,000. We covered gravel and the design.
but if it's in the budget, then I mean, I would make a motion to approve to go forward with the design plan. It's always been part of the plan for Artesia to, you know, improve the park and improve parking.
It seems like we know. It seems like we need to decide what kind of parking lot before we approve design.
I would stick with the gravel parking lot.
A second.
What's our good?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Just because I want to answer the bigger part of the question first.
The motion passes.
So, there's nothing to report on H, I, G, don't you guys updates? Product update, the Artesia water system. We are still waiting on DCQ for their permit. But once they get that permit from DCQ, before we can get them actually advertised and if to address.
Super interesting.
The Upper Trinity District water line, 90% plans are under repair. We are having some issues with easements, and Jonathan and I are doing back and forth with that easement issue. We're trying to get especially land solution to provide a proposal to actually start those negotiations on the after. So if we decide I'll bring it back to us on calendar back to next month. There's no district concern that we know of. If there's anything we can help with, our comments here today that engineer might be able to help with, just reach out and let us know if Navy can help. And there's nothing on the miscellaneous side, so that's all I have for today.
Questions? GIS. Jane, HOA president in Artesia, is having to wrestle with backflow. He's responsible for some of the backflow, right?
Yes,
Right.
some of their, yes, some of their
And
games.
he's an engineer, so he speaks engineer. Are those backflows located by GIS?
The backflow preventers,
Yeah.
we should have those on the GIS system. Once they run the estimate plans, we would have them somewhere as a valve or something.
I don't think they are yet, right? Because I think they do have those located.
Was plotted, all their addresses are just geolocated to the actual center one. So we don't have physical GPS locations of each meter and type of device. I gave David Cornell down his email address to try to coordinate together. He did all the reads for Artesia, so he will know where all the meters are at. He can help him track those down that actual tester.
Okay. So everybody knows where they are.
Apparently, a couple of them could not be located, so we're trying to find those.
That's one of my questions. He told me he was struggling with that.
I think there's 19 total. They found 14, I think, something like that. A few of them is trying to locate those, the source of those, where they're at. So 5 meters, that's what it is.
Yeah, and once we get those geotags, we just put it over GIS.
So we'll update as we go.
Yeah, once we get
That's a great thing.
like we said, put it in a GIS system, know how we're at.
And water system seal plans received. Okay, so we're just waiting on approval.
Yeah, from TCQ for the major permits in Artesia.
Okay. Directors? Motion to approve the engineer's report.
Motion.
All right. Okay. Any opposed? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Operator's report regarding the Artesia water system.
Last year, good. You all should have received a monthly report. First page is the monthly total pumping the system. As you can see, our water demand has gone down substantially, 6 million gallons different from last month. Harper Road pump hours, third page, the Still Parkway pump hours, the water flawlessly, doing great. The fourth page is the pump station elevations, elevation pressures and residuals, the tower levels and residuals there as well. The fifth page is the daily disinfection for residual samples. The next 3 pages are the coliform samples to TCUs, your water quality samples. And the next last page is the generator report. They're doing well as well. Did we ever pass out that I think the PM generator to the board? What option we want to go with?
Yeah.
So next month I'll bring that as well to the board for the annual PM of those, the fluid exchange outs, the load testing. So actually come in there and put the generator under a full load without having to have a generator standby. They come in and draw a load against it, a full load capacity for 4 hours to make sure it actually will draw the right amperage kilowatts. So I think that's you all as well. The last page, back to work orders in the system. The water division, there was 2 check per weeks, 31 days of daily pouring checks. The daily rounds into water power and the pump stations. The 6 required packaging samples, 1 pressure issue, which was their internal issues, and 2 pump station maintenances, which was the analyzer, ball change outs, and greasing pumps and motors. The meter division was 6 check for leaks, 236 meter rereads this month. 15 new occupancy start reads, 6 non-payment reconnects, pressure replacement, 22 service disconnects, 4 verify, register, and data endpoints, and then 2 water meter accuracy checks. And that's my
Mr.
yes, I do apologize for that.
Yeah. There was a test. What was it? One
VO or something was the code. Yeah, there was a test, and I asked if you could include when there's it was a voided test or something like that. So when there's error codes for those TECQ things, I thought it would be a good idea to show what those error codes are when they show up on the checks, so that all the directors and everything can understand what the error code is for.
Gotcha. Okay, so last month we have 3 testers that take our samples, and 1 tester took the samples Monday. The next tester took the same samples on Tuesday. So therefore, those kind of cancel each other out. So we took 8 samples last month, but 2 were duplicates. So the VO is a code for duplicate. So you can't use the same address twice in 3 months.
So there's no problem with
No, sir. No. So on the page, on the report, the one thing I look for is where it says chlorine check is absent. There's actually a little chemical in there called biosulfate. You actually dissolve all the chlorine from the water. That what you still have is pure water and no chlorine in there. And the total coliform is absent, E. coli is absent. If I see those 3 check marks, that's the name. That's clean water. That's really what it is. That's what it is. They actually take sodium disulfate, dissolve the chlorine. They take the water back, sample back to the labs. They insert actual bacteria in the water and put in a heat bath. And if there's any bacteria in the water, it flows and grows. It's under UV light, and it actually shows the incandescent fluorescent yellow color in it.
I just thought it would be beneficial because I think last year we had an error code. I don't remember what it was, but it actually stood for a lab error. It's not our error, so I thought it would be good because it helps when there's those kinds of variances on the report. It helps kind of let the director know what it is.
We would allow you to have the printout of all those error codes.
That'd be great. Yeah. Thank you much.
Yes.
number 5? Do we cover this? Or we still have?
We're going to, and where's the last month when you were here? We had, I believe you told me, close to 300 meters that had to be reread. And I was trying to go off what you had told me, but since you're here, like for these 236 meters that had to be reread this month, how much time is that taking of your staff to do that?
And it depends on how bad the meter is. If it's full of water or full of mud, I would say every one is probably, by the time you get into the system, I would say 10 minutes a piece. By the time you find it, access the meter lid, open it up, make sure it's the right meter, right address, take your reading, record it, put your work order out, next address. So I say generous be 10 minutes.
Okay, so you do 6 an hour.
Yeah.
And we go to 236. So
Yeah.
with the math, how many hours that is spending? And that's why the next item we wanted to talk about before, but yeah, thanks. We have how many meters? 686 or something like that.
Of houses. But you got here,
1680
here,
commercial meter, meters. So it's
1785.
Okay.
Somewhere in there.
Still a pretty good percentage.
Oh, correct. Yes. Yeah, it's hit or miss, and the manufacturer of these meters, Badger Utility, which is Mike McKinney, he said these are nearing their lifespan anyway because they're usually a 20-year rated warranty for the registers and the accuracy of the meters. So it's time to start thinking about that anyway for a change-out program. And if we do that, it's beneficial to the AMR system. That way it's, radio read, gaps pull data up, those leaks every couple hours. You can, if everything calls in, you have data pull on the screen and say, yeah, your usage started at 2 a.m. and you've had constant usage for 35 hours, 36 hours.
I think one of the questions last week on that is costing. Greg didn't have the costing for the different meters, or Rob didn't have the costing for the different meters and stuff, and we weren't sure. which meters we were looking at specifically, which was something we needed.
So obviously, if you stay with Badger meters, you've already got the billing software in place, already got the beacon software in place. They do charge a slightly higher percentage per meter for the AMR system. You would have to install a metering base station. Probably one will cover the whole system. Probably on top of the Teal Parkway water tower. That'll cover the whole system. It's usually about a 5-mile area that'll cover. Then you have to change all the actual endpoints on the meters themselves. So there's going to be a cost. The cost will be, I don't know. But it's going to be several $100,000 for a system-wide change out. If you do it in
Stages, can you provide us basically some sort of information on that, so if we can start to budget for it?
Yeah, that's why I mentioned a couple months ago I did an RFQ or RFI just to see what vendors can offer, because some will offer all the hardware if you use their meter system, for a 10-year period, 15-year period. So some have that option as well.
This item's not ready.
Pricing back yet, so yeah, on the item 5, we'll have to table it until next month.
Okay. I can always contact vendors I do know, and you'll use the preliminary pricing as far as a full AMR system change out. Just see what they say and come back at it. So, we can out just see what our ballpark price would be.
Is there any benefit to the customer? Like if that has an app, you can see what you're using?
Yeah, most all have an app now. Like Solana, we use Aquametrics. We use a Census brand, and there's a H2O monitoring app. You can actually put on your phone. You actually see your data, your current meter reading. You go to bed, it'll give you leak alerts. It'll give you constant consumption alerts. It'll give you a lot of data.
That's pretty cool.
Mm.
Yeah, I guess we just see the numbers.
Yeah. So on the report, any more questions? Do I have a motion to approve the operations report?
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
Any opposed? Thank you, sir. Anything else on item 6 that we?
You mean,
Number 5? No, let's just table that for next one. We'll try to have pricing on the meters.
The tower thing you cleaned last month.
so the video,
Okay. So it wasn't horrible, but it got cleaned out, so it's good there. Inspection should be done next month for 1st of December for our annual inspections for ACQ. Perfect.
Item 6, report from General Manager and Police Department.
Let's see. Good evening. Item 1, General Manager Operation Updates, Request Recommendations. Again, monthly streetlight outages have been reported to CoServe. Item B, Andy contacts on this road repair project. The work continues. CI Pavement is in constant communication with us for all the ongoing repairs. Still placing door hangers on resident streets that may be affected. We are coming back and doing a couple of change orders in Artesia due to some of the concrete savings, which was pretty significant. So we met with CI Pavement because we had a list of priority items that was on this list of repairs. We kind of have a secondary and very low priority items on the list. So we had some savings. We went ahead and went to the next few items that were on our list that might have been pushed this next year for repairs. We're adding a few of those on. I believe the savings is going to almost cover all the change orders that we've done. We're going to go a little bit over the budget, but it's not going to be much at all. Okay. Item C, we are still compiling a list of road repairs needed for the next fiscal year. Once completed, we'll review this with Andy and his team and make any needed additions or subtractions. Sometimes they can look at those and say, no, that doesn't need to be fixed. We try to do the list first. Item D, we have worked with our insurance broker to ensure all property, vehicles, buildings, and equipment are correctly accounted for and insured. Our insurance renewal for all property and liability, I believe it's on an agenda item. So we'll talk about that. Item E, all the algae reported last month after the dredging is gone after our treatment. There's a lot of complaints about that, but we told everybody give it about 3 weeks. All that stuff was gone in about 2. So We met with the Savannah HOA to discuss some irrigation meters that are owned by the HOA. There are two in the C Pines Greenbelt that they want to disconnect and remove the meters unless we want to take them over since it's watering our Greenbelt. There's also a few meters that are along Fishtrap Road. Those mostly irrigate some bushes that are up near resident fences up the top of the hill. The two that we talked about in the green belts, HOA reports that these have a monthly bill of about $4,000 each. So, but they want to know if we want to take those over. They're going to inform Mustang that they want them. They want them disconnected, and even just disconnecting them, Mustang will still charge you for the meter, even if it's not active. So they're going to have them completely removed unless we want them. I told them I didn't think so, but I'm asking the board.
$4,000 each a month in water?
And the meter rental.
Yeah, this is,
It's a lot of water. How many gallons of?
I haven't seen their bill. They just told me what it was costing them.
that dollar amount, I would say let them pull.
Yeah,
I think that needs to be probably more native grasses anyway, honestly.
I agree.
I mean, the greenbelt areas are typically native grasses and stuff like that anyway, so.
Are we going to cause ourselves any unintended consequences by not irrigating?
I have some brown grass in July and August.
Water, I still get brown grass in July.
I'm thinking you will get some resident complaints, honestly, because it's right off of 1385, and it's going to not look great.
Is that where the expansion?
Some of that.
The two in Sea Pines where it has the $4,000 in right in the middle of Savannah. Greenbelt. The ones that they're talking about is along Fishtrap, along like the sidewalk.
So we're not even talking 1385.
No, they're disconnecting those, but those were all bubblers to trees that are now mature. I don't think there's any issue there. No water the grass anyway.
I still think this is something we just need to put in, remove them, and call it good. I mean, at $4,000 a month per meter, I mean, I don't want to carry that cost.
I mean, you could do a whole lot of landscaping.
That's what I'm thinking.
Okay. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to just let the HOA have them. We don't want them.
Second. All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you.
G, we've finally got all the financial documents been collected and we have sent them to our auditor to form our annual audit. Item H, still working with our insurance company broker and adjuster and our contractor to get some supplement paid for our roof repairs on the district buildings. These were completed in June and we're still fighting with them to get some supplemental payments done. We're repeating our efforts, clearing of a lot of dead limbs in the green belts. It now is pretty clear that residents are now taking their dead limbs and trees from their property and take them into the green belt, stacking them up so that we are having to clear them out. Because areas that we have cleaned technically has new tree limbs a week later stacked up neatly in the green belt. So,
I've stopped my truck there and hauled off a few.
yeah.
So if I see it about a week or so, 6th day, I'll stop and pick it up and just, take it home and cut it up.
Well, we get a lot of complaints like people say you haven't cleaned it. We're like, no, we cleaned it. It's just that this is reappearing a few times. I'm hoping it kind of die out. But I think, next time we have winter storms and things like that, it could happen again. Item J, last month we met with T-Mobile. It's 2 weeks ago. We got a program to obtain pricing for providing connectivity for our 12 cars. After reviewing all the information, talking with Chief Kennedy, we're going to stick with AT&T. Item K, we've contracted to start our CCCP program with Hardin Associates. That was approved last month. You remember this is one of the violations we had in TCQ at the July inspection for not having this program. So that is now being started. Item L, we ordered and received a shipment of poles and street signs. We're currently replacing some of the damaged or missing signs that we discovered. We're also installing some new pole and signs. for the PD warning drivers to drive safe with children in the area. And then we're still working on inventory of furniture they'll reuse in the new building and building a list of what we'll need to purchase and take quotes. A little more about
Street signs, we don't have,
put on the agenda.
okay,
Yeah, I was
okay.
just more of a general note that we purchased. Start with some of those places.
I had a question about the pond dredging, whichever item that was looking for it, but several people have asked about that. The bag full of junk.
I think I don't hear about the cover.
Yeah, it's down here, yeah.
Moving on to number 2, neighborhood updates, events and requests. Artesia, we're seeing a decrease in watering violations. Maybe it goes along with Chris saying less water use. Continue to work with our liability team to document the violations and fines. And we have moved back to stage 1 water restrictions now. Section B, Savannah, we're in the process of arranging and scheduling the removal of that large bladder with the silt remains from the dredging. When that thing was filled, if you remember, we wanted the water to drain out because it's by weight and what carrying it off. That bladder was about 7 foot high when they first filled it up. I just went out the other day and measured it. It's like barely over 3 feet high. That's how much it's shrunk. So we're arranging to get that hauled off and moved. So Waste Connections actually helping us. So let's see. Number 2, a basketball goal was removed from a street. This happens occasionally. We had given a homeowner several warnings that the goal could not be in the street, and travel. It was causing problems for trucks like Waste Connections to do their routes. They refused to move it, so we confiscated it and took it away. Number 3, several requests were made for a flashing school zone light at Magnolia and Continental Congress. This is at the intersection of Savannah Elementary. So I don't know if it's something we want to discuss putting on an agenda later on, but we've had requests that there is a school zone sign as you're entering the school zone there. They're asking that there be a flashing light to go along with it. It'd be something similar that we put on the Artesia Bridge.
Mm-hmm. What was it last month, the flashing sign that the police is struggling with to change batteries?
Oh, that's the speed limit school zone sign.
We took action. We corrected that?
No, we don't work out. Companies lost state so. My recommendation, the years for what's else is terrible.
Okay.
I'll let you do it last year. I have 25,000 phones. I'm just saying.
Was that the only game in town?
No, that's very cheap.
It's cheap, yes. Because, yeah. Moving on item C, Arrowbrooke, some of the leaning stop signs and a couple of missing street signs reported at Tomahawk Trail and Prairie Trail have been repaired or reattached. We have received several ticket requests for additional parking at Arrowbrooke Park for residents. Item 3, trash collection service updates issues. September, October has been very, very good. I added it up. In the past 4 weeks, we've only had 8 reported misses, and of those, Waste Connections have immediately came back out to pick them up. Or there was a couple of them that they provided video that the people did not even have their bins out at the time. So when they said they got missed, yeah, they really got missed. But that's the resident fault.
If they keep this up, I might write them a favorable review.
I cannot express how hard they really work to get back out the same day if they can, or if someone comes in really late, they come out the next day. But they've been very good about responding. So, all right, we already signed the new contract.
Yeah, we did that last time.
You would think they would just quit now, but they didn't. Okay, anyway, communication continues to be good.
We're happy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I told, I don't know. Any other questions for me, or I'll turn it over to Chief Kennedy? All right, Chief.
Good evening, directors. Good news. Administration has had several meetings with Director Perry and our EJHLA president, Robert, regarding the Artesia traffic concerns with the school zone. I mean, it's a clear agenda on us. Discuss there. As a result of that, patrol and our bicycle unit department engaged in 2 weeks of special assignment attorney that. not only just the kids in the bikes, but also people driving their vehicles. We've got everything with 2 citation records issued, but preschool chatter, talking to people is better. So if it becomes an issue, we'll reinitiate that social stuff again. Myself and Aaron Irwin, our IT contractor, put in the team schedule to a new building. That was the meeting. The department's annual all survey was to plan. Talk about that, show that best practice stuff. We'll do that annually. That's a 2-month project. It's all actually good. The standards. Officer Treon, Arrowbrooke standard officer, was working with Solana PD regarding KTK gang affiliates. If you recall back in Arrowbrooke, we had some of those issues. Basically just ran them out. If you have a Section 8 home and your arrest histories, that's a violation of your home agreement. So we just this went across the street to Solana. Solana's had a lot of issues. But Officer Treon, I just in the meetings report, did a lot of very good work. Documenting as so they're just tapping into our resources. That collaboration aspect again is working with our frontier agencies. So he's working with them and trying to help them do the same thing we did here at Down Bridge. The department's notified about WCID. That's our criminal justice information systems. Actually, that occurred already October 8th, and we are successful again, just like one ever. It's very important. DPS runs that, and if you do not pass that, they shut you down. So we passed it. We did. So sorry for that. Yeah, it's not. We first talk about the quarterly division performance updates. What that is, it's every quarter we have a leadership meeting with our standings up. I talked about they have a book they read, discuss chances of officers for Olingo, security levels, and so on and so on. We held that last month, and there's something a little bit different. One of our reserve officers, too, is a retired chief of Capel. And I tapped him, built him on Drew's leadership training. Sorry, here's somebody about the yellow. So he came in and had a very good 4-hour class with him. Another task with doing a presentation for us. So for that, so next week I'm doing this. They're doing a presentation on why they chose to promote or they plan on their own getting the department. So we use another one of those leadership days for trying to push the department. Commendations were issued. Officer Simmons was issued commendation for empathy and customer service on a traffic stop by a citizen. Officers Douglas and Hawkins were also issued commendations for professionalism, thoroughness, and kindness in responding to an open door. That person actually called dispatch. Dispatch didn't tell us. Detective Holland, he is associate security now working towards his bachelor period. Now, you recall back, Little Elm PD has some issues with Braswell, some threats going on around IC. I think there's a lot that was going on. So our department, again, our security side officers also over there watching the parking lots and helping search that building. So, that partnership. Activities, total calls were 3,174, 652 dispatched, 2,522 self-initiated. That's a total of 79% being self-initiated, an increase of 554 calls. Don't freak out about that. Those 554 calls on the self-initiated. So what that shows me when I'm reviewing these things, that our officers are more aware, they're more vigilant. So more suspicious persons parking outs, more traffic stops. So those kind of more things. So be more vigilant, that's what we're trying to chase the police department. 368 traffic contacts, 82% of violated and issued warnings. Today, we've completed 21,428 calls for service. You have your monthly report or community breakdown report. You also have your SRO report. Everything out there. The new item that I started last month, I paint on unit progress. Check vehicle was received, it's in service. So everybody think we have a dollar and metal. We don't. So keep it in the room. Don't tell anybody we don't have it here. Part of that though is the training. There's the DEA and our college training kit that they'll provide the departments. So it's a big process of applications. Officer Simmons has done great. It's all sent off. We're just waiting on approval for them to send us all that findings. She's also began meeting with our canine vendor on a routine basis, as well as looking at canine training groups. So around the DFW Metroplex, typically we'll have 8 to 10 police departments that will kind of form a group. They'll train once a week to their dogs. So she's kind of picking she went up to the Hickory Creek Park or the Collin County. So it's up there. She'll probably where she meshes with. And Captain Mexico's loving helping her pick up canine uniforms. It's loved it. Community services, radar trailers placed at 1,800 block of Cherokee Roads and Savannah in the first 2 weeks of September. 83.81% of those vehicles have their under the speed limit. The average speed was a little over 20 miles an hour. The average violation speed was a little over 28. The second half of the month takes place at Mission Street in Salisbury and Arrowbrooke. 83.14% of those vehicles traveled under the speed limit. The average speed was a little over 20. The average violation was a little over 29. As I stated, off the trail, continued to work with Arrowbrooke, and now he's helping them with their new safety committee type program that Savannah has. The department's new Draw the Kid Live Here campaign, you probably seen that on social media. All our yard signs have been distributed, or children action those, and we're working with Rob and those tools that Macy mentioned to get those water permits on the job. We have the Tacos and Talks event and tenders. It was a good response. National Night Out, October 1st. And then take it home and attend the presentation for our local Cub Scouts group that's been elementary. And coming on October 26th, between 10 and 2, we have our next DEA drug take-back event. So if you have unused prescription drugs and things, please go to one of our 2 locations here at the police department or at the other place, one in Reimburse, and dispose of it. Nothing notable for vehicles. Staffing recruits in Mayhem and Stevens continue making good progress. Myself and Captain Esquivel went out on their driving week. They went and drove the cars and also some money to put in charge of the cars. Records, so that's good. Our vacant sergeant position was posted. Assessments were actually held yesterday. I'm going to tell you now, Officer Meyer won that out. He came to us a little while, about a year and a half ago. So he'll be officially promoted over the court, and we'll be sworn in at the next board meeting for as sergeant. As I said, Officer Simmons was chosen as the party first on next. And then we are currently in our standby one. We're waiting on the sergeant assessment. Make sure that process went well. And we close the position. The fire department, Mayville has remained at 5 or more for all 30 days. Charleston has also remained properly staffed. So they had 51 calls, our team had 12 calls. One of those canceled en route. Arrowbrooke had 17 calls, and one of those was from the station and Aubrey. That's it. My report, unless you have questions.
Now, but a comment, used to appreciate the detail in the report in the SRO report. We've said that before, but Officer made a really good job detailing everything out.
He's also over there, the other owners at the school, over at his office, and they have all kinds of stuff in his office taking up the other. It's really cool to see it, so he's well up there.
Are we ready for him yet?
Not yet. So you've seen it. We'll reach back out and tell them the bill's due.
Question? Motion to approve the general manager and police department report.
Chief, did we have any comments on your end? No, sir, I don't have anything to add. Okay.
I'll make a motion to accept the general manager of the report.
Is there a second? Sorry. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Number 7, review and discussion for Arrowbrooke Park and 380 Sports. This is my item, and I didn't mean to upset anybody. I just wanted to have some discussion before we spend money on a parking lot. And just going forward, I'm hearing some different perspectives on the park and more today. So I just wanted some engagement on the future of the park. And I raised a couple of kids through the soccer years and did all the parking and all the ditches and all, it seems like it's always like that, just different cities I've been to. And it's pretty crazy, right? It's the Wild West for a couple of hours. So are we okay with that? Do we want to continue having leagues at the park? It's hard, right? I wanted to, that's the only reason for putting it on there. No intent to have any action except for, we are moving forward with a parking lot. I think we need that anyway. So that's the prompt. And it's not necessarily for anything for tonight, but if I guess I'd like to get to a consensus. Yes, we want to keep the sports, and then let's work towards, making it better and making them welcome and hopefully not complaining about them as much.
Should we have a signed contract with 380?
We did.
Yeah. When's that? What's the duration of that?
Jonathan sent me an email yesterday to look it up, and I got it. And then today, literally, I was the only person there, so I did not have a chance to find it. I think we did a 5-year contract. I don't remember if we did it in 21 or 22.
So, I think the thing is we have a contract with 380 Sports right now. we'll allow that contract to run as we get closer to the end of that contract review, and if we renegotiate or whatever we want to do at that point in time. And I think that's the way that's managed, if you have an existing contract.
I realize we had a 5-year contract, so that makes me aware.
It would be good to know when the expiration of that is.
Yeah, we'll get it. Like I said, I think my best was, I think it was done in 21, but I'm pretty sure it was a 5-year.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing is we need to know when the expiration is, and then as we come up on expiration, then I think what you do at that point is you can review and do all the things we're talking about, and we want to continue that relationship with 380 Sports, and you negotiate what that relationship's going to be moving forward for the next contract term, and that's the way that would work.
I guess my concern is the genie is kind of out of the bottle, and we saw this with the Savannah HOA is, it's open space, so people kind of do whatever they want, and that's been a park now. So unless you're really going to crack down and be prepared to fight that battle, it's almost not worth fighting in some cases. So that's what my main concern is.
I'm at the park really 3 times a week. I'm gonna take my son to practice twice, and then the soccer games. And weekdays are different than Saturdays, but it needs improvement. It needs a lot of improvement. Walking on the grass, tripped a few times. And parking is not real convenient, especially on Saturday, because if you go into the parking lot, you're risking your life trying to get out of there. So I try to park on the whatever road that is that goes into Arrowbrooke, just to avoid having to go in it. But it does need improvement, immediate improvement. I also think the 380 Sport for the community. So I hate to see it disappear. But I can see both sides of it. Just so you guys know, because it goes back a ways, they put a lot. Those 380 Sport put a lot of sweat equity into that park. When we were grading it and building it, putting sod down, they came out and brought a lot of volunteers out there and did a lot of physical work on that park themselves.
I think that would be reflected in whatever our original contract. I don't know because I didn't see around at that point, but I was going to say I think that would have been reflected in that original contract, and that should have nothing to do with future negotiations.
Still good to hear. I didn't know that helped.
They did a lot. They did a lot of work.
Mm-hmm.
I do think we need to probably put our executive about the restroom. I've heard that's probably the most common thing I've heard is restrooms in areas, and it's locked. Somebody has to unlock it. I don't know what that answer is. The only thing I can think of is you had kind of a key card, which I would hate to do for all of Elmridge. So.
No, but you can do time blocks and things of that nature, and we could get quotes on that, I would think, to manage that and see what that would run us on the budget. The other thing is anytime you have unlocked doors that open and close, you're always going to have to, at some point, do a check to make sure they're actually locked when they're supposed to be locked. Otherwise, you don't know what's going to happen there, but we shouldn't be requiring our officers, I would agree, to go and unlock and lock the doors all the time. So, I would say let's look at some quotes for some time blocks or something of that nature for their park so that we can make sure that when those bathrooms should be open, they are open. And I don't think looking at time blocks is as expensive as some of the other lock options that are out there.
I think about seeing them.
Time blocks?
Yeah, being used in parks. I don't.
No, but I've seen them used in other places. I've never, the only parks.
Seems like an easy answer. Is there a reason not to?
To be honest, the only parks that you typically attended when my kids were growing up were public parks without bathrooms. So, let's look at it and see, and that's resolve that.
Pricing for sure.
In this last phase, it was supposed to be lighting and cameras too, right?
That was an idea to put in, but last time we got a quote for lighting, and it was just an estimate. It was about $2 million. What kind of lights are those? Yeah, right. Just park lights that are up on 25 foot
what
tall.
a city would do if they're lighting the park. So it's a big number.
Is it there electricity there? there's electricity there, but it would have to be run like you're running around the park. There's no infrastructure in the ground around where the lights would go. So that's one of the reasons it's so costly. You gotta run those. The lights is actually the cheaper part of it.
Cameras. Do we need cameras?
I think we need cameras around the restroom and on the outside part, because if you're going to start doing time blocks, let's have cameras out there. Just if something does get vandalized or something, maybe we have some.
After the graffiti, we went to the convention and saw some different systems, and they didn't seem super expensive.
They're not that bad.
So let's get some videos of that too.
We can telephone blocks and camera.
Yeah, I would price the lights too, because we put in a pole in Savannah, one pole, and we didn't pay that much. We had to run wires, and granted, we're not talking about all over.
But you're talking about 15 acres.
Yeah. So, I mean, maybe we could scale it back a little bit and do something, right?
Kind of a plan then of what are we wanting to do. What do we want to.
Let's do this in stages. I mean, let's do the cameras on the locks first, and then let's see. Like I said, we've got a budget.
Send that $2 million. I'd like to see it. The $2 million bid.
Okay.
I mean, they're just for starting in place, and then we'll pick this up. Future. Something like that. Because 15 acres.
Is there a contract that residents have to sign if they want to utilize the space?
Yes.
This past weekend, was it rented? Party? It was quite a party over there.
It's first. So,
You also got to remember this. We received a grant from Texas Parks and Wildlife, so that thing is kind of, what's the word? Protected.
yeah,
About being a public park.
we can talk about, different part of the news. You do get into some enforcement issues there, but I think that if we need to look at that, it's an issue that
We don't have rules against parking up by the pavilion. Is that not even?
Cars parked pavilion and the.
We may not even have. Do we not?
can't park by the small on the street.
They drove their truck. You didn't see the picture. They drove their truck.
Yeah, what we probably need to do is just put some we do have some signs that says no parking on the grass. So, I mean, I don't,
That is-
some saying, please don't park anywhere near
Is that
there.
enforceable? Can you? I mean,
You have driving on it for service, just like all. The best thing, honestly, is the ordinances, the regulations. And you have something similar now that talks about driving on district property, but that regulation is really more about dirt bikes and ATV than things. Not every word that language. That way it's like easy when all that versus using the concrete surface, just and I'll take that as far as parking. That's more like driving through yards and things of that nature. But I think this public parking doesn't even make use of however they want. So there's, state law immigration or ordinance immigration and you can enforce those and, because if that's happening, then yes, that is an issue. I didn't know it was to that extent. It was terrible, sure.
high school or on paper.
And is Bucky going over there like once a month to kind of clean up, because they left like a mess, like meat bones, and there's like ash in the playground.
He was out there. We have our landscape vendor that empties the trash every single week. And last week, after you had said to him about that, Bucky went out there on Monday and picked up all the trash.
Okay, so
I haven't seen it, but he said he picked it up.
a foot by foot just pile of ash in the playground.
What?
Ash from like either a bonfire or a charcoal grill. So we'll have to.
You see it? Call the police.
I missed the heck of a party.
We don't.
Yeah, the DJ.
We don't have the manpower to monitor that park 24 hours. So
DJ at house.
Yeah, no, it was just a picture. You could tell they were.
So all right, let's do the cars. My understanding was I heard their answer to the house to the party.
Yeah.
So I can deter that as well. This was the bonfire.
It's like, well lit. It's a, I think you have regulations, yeah, but then you have to be prepared to enforce those, and that's what we found with the HOAs. You can have a million rules, but nobody enforces them. They're not really good for anything.
Yeah, the difference there a little bit of the story is that the district by state law or by law has the ability to set rules and regulations that can be violations can be misdemeanors. And so that does allow us to have some,
Yeah, as long as we're prepared to close the track there, yeah.
right. And so, we're limited in some ways to what the types of rules, but we should be the companies that are able to control those types of things to where, we can remove the volume, increase the power, but can't remove all that. And so let's look at that.
You can regulate anything for district property for the water tool. So you can let hours from the park, you can driving on it to this district on property.
So let's look at that, and if we just talk about well after the week, the first.
Yeah, it's a long way to do. Well, let's get on. See, modifying our regulations. Mm-hmm. And the last line, you know, probably we'll take those before.
Yeah, we are feeling like we did before on one day, but unfortunately, we have to go here.
Was an evening party?
In the afternoon, and it went to like 9-10 o'clock. Like, it was 150 vehicles, like double parked on Arrowbrooke Ave. Like it looks like soccer just continued. That's how many vehicles are over there. Yeah.
Was it every weekend or just?
This was the first time it was this bad.
I think it might become the popular spot is my concern. So let's get out in front of it.
Especially with the apartments. They're almost finished over at Frontiering 1385.
So let's just make that a future address.
Mhm. So that's what I put, just really for discussion. I don't think there's any action.
We'll bring back some ideas next month and submit some ideas
About the regulations, district properties.
try to get input from you guys, which are the ones that are out there, and then what potential regulations we need to put in place to protect the property. So,
And on the 380 thing, let's just find out when the contract ends, and we won't do anything on that until we get closer to end the contract.
Very good. Hey, review and discussion regarding signage in Arrowbrooke. Do we bring signs?
Our show and tell portion of our program.
Good. So, thank you for raising our awareness. I've been looking at signs a lot in the last, and me personally, I like things spelled correctly. And I like things to be straight and level, and so I start looking as I'm driving around in different cities. And one thing that, thank you, now I can't unsee this. All of the poles are crooked, almost all. They just are. So I don't know what there's probably a standard of so many degrees of deflection before a city resets a pole. I don't know, but I invite all of you as you're driving through. Some of them even are nice stop signs in Artesia. The one at Artesia at Commons and Teal, that baby is just leaning over. It sits on a concrete pad. What do we have to do to fix it?
Recess it probably.
Reset the pad. Yeah, it's not an easy fix. Okay, so what do we do?
So this sign is 54 inches long. This is the original type sign that the Arrowbrooke developer bought and put out there and paid for. The sign is too long, it's too thin, and it just flaps. And so when it's any wind, plus this thing sits on a cap that sits on top of the pole. It all goes in and sits. So the wind starts hitting and it pulls these off easily. We did replace these all the time. The first thing we thought, okay, well, this is just too wide and it's too thin. So we replaced it with a shorter thicker sign. Okay.
Misspelled.
What's that?
It's misspelled.
That's it. Someone would notice. So we tried putting these in the same brackets, but that's when we really noticed the cap is still part of the problem. We get less movement because these are thicker and they don't catch the wind. So now we no longer use this apparatus when we replace a sign. We're replacing them as they go. It's too expensive just to go in and replace every street sign. So you may see a bigger sign, and you may see a smaller size that's on top like this of the intersecting street. As we are, how much? These are $178. These are $154. Okay. We're not going to use this type of apparatus anymore. We are going to fix the sign, the next piece, with a pole. This is a pole. This is a standard pole. Every city in Texas uses these poles. It is very heavy gauge metal. It is not substandard. It is not cheap, but it is cheaper than what was recommended. I know Monica mentioned that she wanted the possibility of putting in the decorative signs that Artesia and Savannah have. Again, those poles were done by the developer. The Savannah decorative poles are $649 each. The Artesia poles are $829 a piece. Just for the pole. This pole, now this is a short piece, it's usually 10 to 12 feet high. This pole is $52.
Mm-hmm.
So I could replace this pole 12 times before I ever bought one Savannah pole. Like I said, these are used all throughout every city in Texas. These are
All over Frisco, and I'll see up in.
These are on the buy board, the say so, everything that the government buy boards that we can use. So we use these now, and we can fix the sign to the pole. And that is going to make it more sturdy. And then we'll put the other sign on the other side and put spacers in between. So they bring every covers up.
The name?
No. You're going to put the sign like that.
Okay.
You're going to put another one on the other side. And then a spacer in between the two signs.
Mm-hmm.
And these are much more sturdy. We just now start doing it that way and getting rid of this thing.
It's about Tucson.
Yeah. You make a more durable cap. That's what we found. This was just a bad design. That's why I was asking, do they make their durable caps so we don't have two signs on?
I mean, you can hear it when he was shaking it. I mean, you can hear one's ear.
That's, think about the wind grabbing that thing on top of a pole. It's going to rip it off.
I think one thing that I would say is if we're going to replace one sign on a pole, we should replace both the signs,
For uniformity.
Yeah, for uniformity. I mean, I understand not being able to replace everything at once, but if you're going to replace one sign to the shorter sign, at least replace some consistency on that pole.
Now that we're going to put it on the pole, that's what we would do. This is not last on the pole itself, so we would do it. But you do see a couple of the very few that may have a shorter sign on top and a longer sign on. That's some of the differences.
So go through your spell check, autocorrect, and purge every other alternate spelling of Arrowbrooke so we get the right one. The Arrowbrooke is properly spelled with a capital B. That's one word.
That was my question: is we do about the signs that are misspelled, right? Or I think we should replace those. Yeah, there should be some kind of commonality. Yeah, we should replace misspelled signs. I think on the poll thing that was brought up, I think my standpoint on that is, as far as I'm concerned, no matter which community it is, they should be replaced by the standard poll instead of the expensive poll. I don't care what community it is. I don't want to spend $600 on a poll for a stop sign.
We're going to start having mismatched.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that. And the poles should really wear out, right?
Yeah. It's not.
Those poles are also designed, they have a breakaway base in the bottom. So let's say a car hits it, it will break away from the base and usually save the pole. You don't really get a damage to the pole. You might bend the sign. If it's like a speed limit or a stop sign on it, you might bend the sign, but you're not going to tear the pole up. So I would say, if that's what you want, let us get an accounting of what we think we need to replace for now, because there's, by my calculation, looking at the map, about 88 intersections that has street signs. So obviously we can't replace them all at once. So there's a plan. So again, please.
Quantify it and make a plan.
Right, make a plan.
So let's start with the ones that need it.
What they're missing, obviously that's the case. And down to misspelled, that's the case, and then different signs. I would suggest if it's not misspelled and it's still up and it's still the original big sign, let's leave it up until it comes down until we have to spend money.
And then the speed limit stuff, we can talk about that, right?
That's
Okay. So we need speed limit signs.
So I'll have to kind of check with what Bonnie was talking about. I know what she's saying when it changes the speed limit, but like along Arrowbrooke Avenue, that speed limit does not change. So it is 35 miles an hour from the very north end to where it hits 1385. So in the past, anytime we've added signage, again, that would have to be a kind of a master plan. It has to go before the Commissioner's Court to approve any additional signs like that.
So let's start by looking at what would be any mandatory signs we should put up and start at that. And let's quote that so we can put it on our plan, and then we can look at anything else later if we need to.
There are some no outlet signs too, I think, is that included?
We had, I think they asked for Signage for the dead ends.
If you want to approve that, we can get those signs. Are about $250 a piece, plus the pole, plus labor spend.
I think there's two motions here. One for the speed signs, that's mandatory. We need to be in compliance, right? Let's.
We need to look at that plan before we. I would say before we vote on anything on that and see what we need.
So we're not ready.
We're not ready for that.
Okay.
Outlet signs are fine. That we don't. We can put those up. We're talking about. I don't know. I'm going to guess about $500 between the sign and labor to put that up. Per sign. It's about $300. I just told you the poles are $52. Signs $250.
Mm-hmm.
So there's $300 right there.
Let's put it up.
You got to set the sign. You set it in concrete. I mean, it's at least, I guess, a couple of hours, maybe 3 hours of labor.
So let's start by making a motion to get a number of signs, get the quotes, and get the plan set. This way here we can vote on the plan moving forward next month.
Street signs or
Street signs.
Street signs.
Yeah, because we got to find out where we're at on the speed sign. We don't know what dollar amount or what the plan is yet or how to address this, even though we've got an idea. So let's make the motion to get the plan together and bring the proposal to the board next month for approval for everything. But for just the street signs, just to set the plan together.
Give me a second. Okay. Okay.
So what exactly did we just approve?
So you're gonna go out and you're gonna see how many street signs
We're not really making any.
Arrowbrooke and get the proposal for the plan to start registering, and that's it right now.
Get back to the
Nothing on the outlet signs.
That was just for street signs.
Okay.
Just breaking it up in features. It's, and speed limits, we cannot take action now. We need
the data.
Okay. Outlet signs. Wow. For 500 apiece. We want to approve some, none.
I would say focus on the street
Yeah, why
signs
don't we-
first,
Yeah,
and once we get through.
I think you need a plan. I like to prioritize. Yeah, some kind of project plan, but I don't get to do it all at
Well, the
once.
gentleman that told me that people drive down the street and turn around all the time. He came last time. Okay. Yeah, it is.
Yeah. The no outlet sign is mounted there in Arrowbrooke. It's on a long post, so it's facing the wrong direction. Because it's on Bunker Hill and Stoney.
Okay.
But those were mounted, the one is mounted on the same sign that the street sign is on. I don't know why you need.
I mean, what there's signs there, we could, you're right. I'm just, if there's nothing there, we'd have to put a post. A pole.
As we're looking at all this, see if you think there's some places we really need them. And if we can just do it with a sign, then that makes it easier.
Yeah, so study that one as well. Come back to it next month.
So let's make a motion to take a look at the areas where we need no outlet signs and bring a proposal back for that as well.
I don't think you need a motion, that's just a direction.
Okay. Now, discuss status on sidewalk adjacent to Fishtrap.
This is me. My contacts in Little Elm invited me to a meeting with Little Elm, Denton County, and the engineers that are going to be expanding Fishtrap. And this is actually going to affect Savannah quite a bit. They're talking that Azalea Village or one of their exits, they won't be able to turn left, so they will have to use the districts. Sorry, historic district. Yeah, district exit to turn left because of the proximity of the apartments across the street. They had to take precedence. Another thing is that the side streets on the other side of Savannah, they're going to try and widen some of the exits so that there can be a right turn lane and a left turn lane out. But because of that, that can affect the magnolia trees that are there. So the engineers are going to be looking at 3 different plans to try to keep the magnolia trees. And then with the sidewalk itself, they are in favor of expanding it, and they actually said that Denton County would like to help fund it.
Okay, who's the engineer saying that? Because Agnes, when I talked to them Friday, still does not have any plan from them, and they're not granting any easement. So who's the engineer in FLL?
So I connect with Harper Harris and Amanda Black and Jeff Sears.
Who's the first one?
Schaefer Harris.
Agnes in touch with them so they can communicate. Because no one's
They're still finishing the schematics and still be in touch with them.
Counties wants to help or the Little Elm?
The county.
Okay, for prevention one day.
What's the expense of expanding the sidewalk?
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so they were actually discussing how in Little Elm the minimum that they are doing for sidewalks, the size is 8 feet. And I was like, wow. They for that, but they said that they want to help make this happen for us. So I was wanting to be the liaison for this project to make sure that the Savannah residents are heard because of how much this is going to affect them.
Is there a motion? Do we need a motion on that? I think it's good if she's going to be the formal liaison, so you appoint her on it.
We just send one, or should we send two? Maybe somebody from Savannah. Does anybody else want to help?
I don't think that there's a need to send the directors or a liaison.
Did you make a motion, or somebody going to make a motion?
I'll make a motion. To believe for the Fishtrap extension.
Second.
Any motion? So, yeah.
Yeah.
10, consider and take any action necessary to work with City of Prosper in placing crosswalk, signage, sidewalk, and other traffic next to Rushing Middle School. Is it Artesia Bridge too?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's, I touched on it. We've had a couple of meetings between President Perry, Director Story, myself, Chief Kennedy, representatives from Artesia, HOA, and Prosper ISD. You have in your packet what you would have solicited as the crosswalks. There we go. It should be an Excel.
There's a few.
There's a couple.
Copy of safety complaint.
Yeah, same thing. That's it. So, Mike had mentioned that Dale Jane put this part together. So you can see where kind of the whole pathway is. The issue is the mark in yellow. That's going down Artesia Boulevard. There is a crosswalk there, right there at the bridge. It kind of goes through a playground over to the corner of Candler Drive and Harper Road. And we witnessed kids going back and forth diagonally across that street on e-bikes, scooters, bicycles, everything in the world, never watching for a car at all. So what we are proposing, and I think we'll take this in a step. First of all, anything that we do is going to take an engineering study. The one thing that we're thinking about proposing is moving the crosswalk that already exists at Artesia Bridge, but it's at the very end of Artesia Bridge. So you're coming over a hill, and it's a little bit harder to see. If we move the crosswalk down 50 yards, 30 yards, whatever it may be, it'll be probably a little bit more easier to see kids. That's the first thing, but that would take an engineering study for move that crosswalk. And as you come across over to this corner where we talked about where Candler and Harper kind of bend and intersect, that's where we would propose putting in another crosswalk. That also would take an engineering study for that. There's not an exact price. The engineering study firm that we got pricing from has a base rate of, I think it was $6,800. We had this last month, and then they have a kind of a time and material. They're estimating whatever number of hours it was going to put us around $10,000 per traffic study. So if you do one at the bridge, that's one study. If you do one at the proposed making the crosswalk, that's another. You also have in your packet, there is a proposal from WOPAC that has the bid to move the crosswalk on Artesia Boulevard, that it's to close the existing one and move it down and build another one. To saw cut and remove the curbs and sidewalk at each side, to basically put in a new crosswalk there, and we would move our flashing signs down, is $11,270. If you combine that with a engineering study, you're looking at a little bit over $21,000 for that. And then to kind of shore up the old crosswalk with $96.50, there are some crosswalk, and remove the AD ramps. And then the Harper Road, to create that crosswalk, because there's no ramps there at all yet, would be $19,050 as a proposal.
We're going to put a couple crosswalks, Palestine, and what's that other street?
Those have been painted.
Okay, so this is for.
Those already had the ADA ramps were there. They just didn't have the crosswalk painting. Bucky has put those in. Those are there now.
That little piece was done.
Piece of it. So that the crosswalk at Harper Road and Candler, you're looking at probably around $30,000 with engineering study and performing the work.
I want to ask ISD for help with that.
But to do any of these, we need an engineering study. So if there's any action taken tonight, it would be my suggestion we propose the engineering studies for the crosswalk and then moving the crosswalk that's on Artesia Bridge.
And the actual bridge fix.
That's different. We don't need an engineering study for that.
Okay.
So if you look, you'll see the kind of the picture on here. The sidewalk that's adjacent to the bridge itself, it's not even ADA compliant now. We can make it that way. WOPAC has looked at that. That stone is decorative. It's not structural. They can shade that back about 4 inches, make some type of faux or stucco to kind of come down and replace the actual stone there. That gives us about 4.5 inches of extra width on the sidewalk. And then you could put up a railing similar to what Dale has in a picture there somewhere. It's near the next to the last page. There's a railing that could then go up on the edge of the sidewalk, which that's one of the safety things that everyone's really complained about is that kids can fall off, bikes can run off the sidewalk into the street and it's hard to hit them. So now we wouldn't need an engineering study, and I think the price on that was it's also in your packet, and I want to say that was right at $20,000 to do that, which is far less than I thought. I thought it was going to be around 50.
I think that was bad either. I'm curious what the finish is after we shave the stone, and credit where credit's due. It was actually Chief Kennedy who suggested, hey, just cut this thing.
How long does it take to do that work? The shaving the stone and he didn't give me a time. I can't imagine that take more than a couple weeks.
Can they do it without closing the bridge? That's all.
I don't know why they wouldn't.
Okay. It's a question.
Well, sure, because obviously that's a different.
I probably still would want to do it.
I think one of the other questions I would have is it something we can do when school's out, like during the break or something?
Yeah, removing the inner facet of the stone and all that is about $22,000.
I think the only thing that I would say is that, with that work, I am concerned that the sidewalk's not ADA compliant. That's an issue for me.
It's not right now.
That's what I'm concerned about that, so it's an issue for me. But I think that we would want to do the work, when school's not in session during a break or something. But if it was me, I would make a motion at least to do the bridge work and get that quoted for a time when school's on break.
So much has to improve moving forward. With the bridge piece,
I'll second that. I think that needs to be done.
Traffic studies. So for the other piece of this, the first step
would be traffic study.
When are they doing the traffic studies? Something new, I have no idea what we're talking.
A lot of it's traffic counts. You see sometimes those little rubber things they put across the road, so when it runs over the thing, they can count how many vehicles are coming across there. So in this case, because we're talking about school ramps, I think they would go out there and observe the school, the kids coming to and from school.
That's like $10,000 to count cars. Where is the big cost here?
I'm not sure.
From that, I can't answer exactly that, but from this perspective, and we talk about this, we need somebody to tell us that it's okay to put a crosswalk there. We're not the experts on where to put crosswalks, what's safe, what's not, so this is the foundation. We live in our liability of where we put crosswalks. And so, as far as the cost, we have to make a proposal. They usually lay out what each cost is, and then writes that much. So then be able to kind of give us that information once we get it.
I think what I would state this is we have a lot of proposals for things that deal with crosswalks and stuff and studies. In all fairness, I think we need to take a look at those to figure out which ones are the highest priority for the studies, and then come back, because we've got several communities that want that. And so this is one proposal, but is this the highest priority of those requests? So let's find out. Take a look at who's requested those items, which ones would actually be the higher priority request for the traffic study, and then look at where we want to approve those. So can we get that together for us for the next meeting?
as far as the, it's,
We're punting why?
Because I think we've had a lot of requests for crosswalks and things, and is this the highest priority of the
We've had two.
requests?
We've had this one and then.
There's several in Arrow, not just one,
Right.
there's several in Arrow. And then there's also been some in Savannah. So which ones would actually be the highest priority based on safety and things? And then let's figure out.
How do we determine that?
We can get maybe Brandon Kennedy in the group to take a look based on safety concerns and start that way. Closeness to schools, things of that nature. I don't know. We can.
So do our own traffic study.
It's not a traffic study. It's looking at where the pinch points and where, we can look at who's using that area and what the traffic looks like and stuff as far as the kids crossing. And, is there hills that are blocking it? Easy stuff like you guys did here. There's a hill. This is at the end there, so it's dangerous.
I'd at least like to see the numbers on a traffic study. Brian, I got that here. Let me just go real quickly with scope of services. Task 1, research and background information. Obtain a detailed development summary of the project and the client's specific information shall be included. The following where applicable: proposed site plan in CAD format containing a minimum existing and proposed building and structure footprints, existing and proposed public and private street curb lines, internal and external to the site, location and configuration of existing and proposed points of vehicular access and adjacent roadway geometry, existing parking facilities, depicting access points and marked layout, detailed development program including gross floor and quantities by land use, like pays if applicable. Additional quantities may also be required. Sounds like reading stereo instructions. A summary of anticipated day-to-day and special event characteristics, including hours of operation, activity, attendance, profiles, including quantities, seasonal fluctuation. This is why I think they did look at the school traffic and they write up a nice report. It sounds like. And that cost, is that firm or is that just ballpark what you think? No. So the cost, like I said, it'll go down the cost parts. There's 3 different task sections. Task 1 is 50. I'm sorry. The research and background information task 1 is $500. The traffic impact analysis, which is task 2, is $4,500. And then the coordination of agency and comments and reports. I'm sorry, then add traffic data, that's $1,800. And the last one I just mentioned, that's $300 an hour. So they're just estimating about 10 hours, but it should be market less. So I think we came up with 6,800 plus roughly 3,000, that's 9,800.
The thing we want to do here is move school zone signs, which seems real easy. And Jonathan said, you're not touching those school zone signs until you get a traffic study.
I don't know. I said, we need school district to do that. So we need to.
They want us to do it.
They want us to do
Yes.
Okay, well, then you put that in some type of memorandum.
Yeah.
Voted on by the city council.
So, there are specific just like MC, the traffic control manual, like this is where school districts, school zones are, this is school lines go. And really it's the school districts and the municipality / county that controls that. Now, I know that Prosper specifically, their city has actually adopted an ordinance that says this is what your school zones will look like, and they will not be changed for that. Now, you're not in technically, so I don't know if that would, there's already like, but that we want to make sure we're working with the school district and figuring out where those need to go. If we want to move them, that's fine, but it's not really a traffic study thing. It's more of a do these needs the statutory guidelines. It's yes. Yes, okay.
the county would be the ones who ultimately approve it because it's a county road, technically not being prosperous. But you would want to work with all of those entities to determine where they need to go. Okay. So it's doable. We just need to make sure we're meeting what those targets are.
Director Malone, I go back to what we're proposing with the order, so I'd be cautious with using your own people for that, because if I say this sidewalk needs to be done first and the kid gets in that sidewalk that we chose, I think it's more of a traffic study for everything than let them prioritize what is the most dangerous, because they're sitting yourself on it.
That's true, but then how do we prioritize all the traffic studies we've been asked to do from all three communities? And that becomes the issue.
Hey, we're only going to do X number this year.
Yeah, but we're limited this year, so I mean, we've got to decide how to do it in some way.
We got $245,000 of leftover money and it's chipping away.
Yeah, we got to decide how to do it. Then there has to be some decision on, because we can't just ignore two communities and say, well, we're not going to do it, and then go, well, this has been brought up, so we're going to do it this time, because there were traffic studies done originally when we put all these sidewalks together. And I know there's been development, but you know, in all fairness, we've said no to traffic studies in Savannah, we've said no to traffic studies in Arrowbrooke, and now we're coming through and we're going to say, well, yeah, but now we're going to all of a sudden say, okay, to a traffic study in Artesia. So
Do you have a middle school in?
we have an elementary school.
Or do you have a middle school?
We have an elementary school that people walk to.
Right, but the question is, do you have a middle school? No. They put one right next to us. They didn't really work with us, right? Said, hey, we need to coordinate with your traffic. So
I think what we should say is this needs further discussion until we can figure out how we want to go about doing the traffic studies. Is this two traffic studies I heard?
Yeah.
It's two traffic studies in Artesia.
Yeah, that's what I mean. For this one project, it's two traffic studies.
Correct.
So the one on Artesia Boulevard is going to be us. And the one by the school really should be them. But was try to work for that one is not. I guess yeah, I think it's on their land. These programs.
The one on the bridge is the one I'm most concerned with because Scott, to your point, we went out there and looked at it, and there were people crossing the bridge. So far as like Rob mentioned, couldn't see them. It's not just people from Artesia. The lady we talked to was coming from Union Park, so there was a pretty good stream of people going across the bridge there. I feel like that's probably the one I would want to tackle if we had to choose. And let's say we were going to do one, I would pick that one.
So what is it you want to learn between now and next month to get you okay with this?
I think we need to figure out a way that we want to do this because originally there was traffic study done on all these. So what we're saying is we're going to be selective on a specific set of traffic studies for one community when we've done it for no other community. And we've made that publicly clear several times. So, and all of a sudden we're saying, well, we want to do it for this. But we've never wanted to do it for anything else. So we've got to find a way to have some fairness in how we make this decision. Whatever that is, I don't think we can, for years, we've said no, 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 no. And now all of a sudden you want to say yes.
But you can't manage everything off of a linear traffic. So
I don't disagree with that. And I know that's what I said earlier. I know things have changed, developments have changed, but all the developments have changed. It wasn't just Artesia that's changed. Savannah and Arrowbrooke have also changed.
Thing that I remember saying no to is last year there were a lot of crosswalks asked for, and it was shut down pretty quickly.
We've said no so far since you and I have been on the board. We've said no to a traffic study in Savannah, and we've said no to traffic studies in Arrowbrooke. In Arrowbrooke. So, and now we said
Savannah. We said no to Savannah.
We said no to some crosswalks in Savannah, but I don't remember if it was one or two. We said no to a traffic study for them. Mm-hmm. And so now we want to say yes. And so even in the last 2 years, we've said no, no, no. And now we're wanting to say yes. We've got to find some way to be fair about this instead of all of a sudden, yes, this is the project we want to jump on.
I agree with you in this, we have to find a way to balance between the three, right?
Mm-hmm.
But this is an issue we've been discussing. It's on the table.
The original issue was with the bridge and the wideness of the sidewalk and putting up a guardrail, which I've already made a motion for and approved.
I don't like We say no because we always said no. Every time somebody says that, that just grinds my gears. Like, no, we don't do it because we've never done.
And I'm not saying we shouldn't do it. I'm saying we need to find a way, whether it's we go out and find, to Chief Kennedy's point, whether we find, instead of doing a full traffic study, somebody that can come in and help us to prioritize which ones we do traffic studies on first, or whatever it is. Let's find a way to justify which ones we're going to do, rather than we've said no, 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 and all of a sudden out of the blue we want to say yes. When we've got community members we've got to answer to that are going, well, why did you say no to both of ours
I
in the
wouldn't
last 2
characterize
years?
this as out of the blue. We've been talking about it for months now, so it's not out of the blue that we're. But, if we're not comfortable spending the money to do the study.
It's not comfortability with the money to do the study. It's making sure we're justifying why this one's as important or more important than any other.
So the government is making choices, right? So we've been elected to make choices.
That's fine.
If people don't like those
Make a
choices,
motion.
then won't get elected.
Make a motion and I'll vote on it.
Can reach out to Prosper and see what they're willing to help with, because maybe even they're willing to help with the engineering, because I mean, it seems like it's on the
Or if I may make a suggestion,
Yes.
if it's feasible, do one traffic study in each community. Do one of these in Artesia, do one in Arrowbrooke of the several that they've requested, and do one in Savannah. And say that's what we're doing this year because that's what we can afford to do. And do those 3 traffic studies. I was going to make a motion. Let's just go press forward with the bridge because I think that's the primary pain point right now. We'll cut your project in half. We'll come back to the other one whenever we come back to it. I think the other one's actually more important than the bridge because at least at the bridge you already have a crosswalk. If you're going to wait on that one.
We can still keep talking with Foster about the other one. We might be able to come back with a different. I was going to not, even though that one is where the whole thing bottlenecks back at the neighborhood. But so
we're
talk to them.
not fixing the problem on Harper Road where the kids are crossing the road.
I would be okay approving a traffic study, one for all the 3 neighborhoods to move. Let's get some work done. We only meet once a year. That's my problem. If you kick the can down the road another month and time goes by, I like to execute, discuss, sit down, and then take action. So we weren't ready to talk about it last week. Really give some action last month. We knew what we wanted to do. We didn't have bids, and then you lose a whole month when you.
We've got costs, we got whatever. I mean, we can know that any traffic study for a specific crosswalk is going to be give or take $10,000. So
I'll make the motion.
hold on, was yours a motion, Mr. Shorty? I withdraw it. Okay, so make sure.
Okay, yeah. We're in the middle of everything.
funds to do $30,000 worth of traffic study.
We've got $243,000 worth of budgeted that's left so far. And we just spent $43,000 tonight that hasn't been budgeted.
No, that was part of the part. That was
What was it? We spent 20 something thousand.
what we spent
We just on the bridge.
on the bridge, yeah. Minus 20.
So we just spent 23,000. So we're doing 220 for the remainder of the year. For any other projects we have or anything that comes up.
Which is next July, right?
Yes.
It's August.
August, yeah. And we approve it in July or June.
Finals in July.
Yeah.
So
I'll finish my motion. I'd like to make a motion to approve 3 traffic studies for this year's budget, one for each of the 3 communities. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye. I have a point of order. I'm sorry. Can we do that motion on this line item, Jonathan? Number 10, we're talking about this area for placing a crosswalk signage, sidewalk, and other traffic along Harper Road next to Learning Middle School. And I think that the way it should probably be worded is, are you approving one of these? And then also to plan on moving forward with one for each of the other communities once those locations are determined. And when those locations are determined, if the board wants to do an Arrowbrooke and Savannah, so we would come back and move to approve those specific ones in those
areas. So I think tonight, I think Mr. Stewart's right. You're approving one of the ones that presented to you today. And you can also include in that motion the intention to then also do one in each of the districts or sorry, communities that you want to do.
I'm going to modify my motion. I motion that we approve a traffic study in Artesia and it with,
Well, which one? Are you going to pick which one?
the ridge. Yes, the ridge.
Okay.
Just and with the intent to identify and approve a traffic study for the other two communities in this year's budget. Total approximately 30K. That's my motion. No second. Second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
No.
One opposed. Motion carries. To commend Mr. Dale Jank again for his good work on this. I'm so impressed with his report. That's who did this. Right?
It helps so much,
Yeah.
obviously for everyone to see it.
Some work I study on that bridge. I've been making elevators a lot there throughout the
Approve and execute proposals for renewal of district insurance policies.
So you should be seeing the kind of sorry, on that one drive. I sent it out to you as well. It's the insurance proposal as well as from the report. Rob worked with police chief to make sure that all of our properties accounted for, whether you put in cars, your facilities, everything to make sure it's updated yearly and every year to make sure you're covered on everything. And so this is the insurance renewal. You'll see that on page 4 and 5. You do have the annual summary and the cost comparison from the previous year. You will see that it's going up about $6,000 in coverage from the year before. I think a couple of them have to do with maybe renewing a couple of 3-year policies. That's a little bit of an increase. And also, we talked about that cyber liability. Obviously, a big increase. And I think Scott is comfortable with his discussions with the insurance company on that cyber liability. I don't know if you need to add anything.
Yeah, I just want to, just so everyone's aware, spent actually quite a bit of time talking with the insurance companies on it, trying to quote out what our different possibilities are in the cyber insurance. And at the end of the day, what they proposed to us back in August, I believe it was originally for the price, even though we weren't happy with the coverage, was the best deal we can get out for cyber coverage right now. The next closest deal is going to be $8,000 annually just for the cyber coverage for what we would have used. So after those discussions, I think that cyber coverage with them is the best way to go.
So it was $242. No,
It wasn't 242, that thousand something.
it was 242. Then it went.
It went to this year. It was going to be 1,000 something, and when versus the 242. But when I discussed it with them, the next cheapest was going to be 8,000.
So previous year was 242. What we're proposing is 1,245. So it's $1,000, but it doesn't really say tier 2 core coverage. What do we get?
We can increase.
What do we get? What does that mean? Tier 2 core.
You have higher limits of. You have access to higher coverage limits per incident limits. If you go to report 2 coverage rather than $1 million per incident, they can raise your limitations on your per incident coverage.
Sure. Yeah, so Sherry, there is a page on cyber liabilities on page 21, 57, and that runs through what you're covered with on 4 plus. It has all of your limits of liability and all the information related to your coverage and what you're getting for that.
Where is this mentioned in Winston Ranch Community Association? What is that about? On page 19, it says general liability, member name, Elm Ridge, and then it says person or organization, Winston Ranch Community Association. We have a license agreement with Winsong. We are using some of their property for a utility line. And so they are, they're making us have coverage in case. The main water line runs for Artesia. Yeah, they're protected. I see.
The cyber piece is better than nothing, and the next level up is way more. So that's based on the decision making. Okay. Seems like we need to have more. The other companies, I'm seeing in my industry, they're adding that piece.
They are, and we had a long discussion about the coverages and stuff and how it works, because this coverage works on a group basis. So the group decides how the coverage is paid out for large scale impacts. It impacts everyone in the group, which was one of my big concerns. And you're a member of that, right? Yeah, we're a member.
Yeah.
So we don't make the decision, but that was one of the concerns that I had is depending on the size and the impact, up to 25 million, the whole group can make a decision on the coverages that are applied and how they're applied across the group. But for coverage per dollar, this is still invested.
This says 20 officers. There's 20 police officers. I've got that in there. So we got more things.
Yeah. 22, 26, a little more.
I think it's close.
Is it Jacob?
And now I gave the line number. So we looking for an answer, Jonathan. So I don't know. So yes, the amount of officers, we need to talk to Corey about that. What I was saying is that, we need to approve this, yes, or at least what this is. And we need to increase it to cover the police officers. I would ask that you give the amendment to authority to approve that increase. So just going to be an increase in premium. If it's time here, it may be. If it's not, then we need to increase a little bit more. I've asked that you give the president authority to do that based on, we need to have it listen. Two different motions. It would be the same motion, approve the proposal, and then give the president of organization to increase salary. If that motion favor, because people don't like binding one, then you can do two different ones.
Other questions about it?
There's really not another place to do we can shop from there. There is. There are a couple other providers. I know that a couple of years ago, we worked with Brown & Brown for a long time. They used to be Harper. We did go out and shop a couple of years ago, I believe, and we learned about that. Prices. And so the fact that I know that the district has had a really good relationship with this insurance company, one response that they've been very attentive. But if the district wants to go out and get some more pricing, we can do that. I would say that we probably need to wait till next year. Every time we have priced it, we've never been able to meet this TML price. It's with Texas Municipal League, it's the full risk pool, just like so we didn't go up very much. Yeah, that's the great thing about them. It is usually minimum increases. And even when we add stuff on, more cars, more buildings, more whatever.
So if there's 5 more officers, how much you think we're?
Well, I think I'm hoping that's a typo, but it's $20,000 for 20. Okay. So instead of 5,000, it's not a typo. It was the black horse 6,000 was $20,000 was the premium. So, and that's just covered 20 officers. So I guess 1,000 certain people need to go up for.
Yeah, I was going to make a motion to adopt this, but I want to put a cap on it of like $5,000. If it goes up more than that, I think it should come back to us to talk about it.
There's a problem though.
Well, yeah,
We
we're
got-
gonna be out of coverage if that's the case, and it goes up, well, if it goes up 6,000, you got a 5,000 limit, we have no coverage.
But I wanted to come back and say, well, it's 27 now, but now it's 50, right?
Give it a little bit more room in there. If you're thinking it's 1,000 an officer, then say
And
a little more than that, maybe.
so we don't
Yeah.
have it's
We don't want to have a lapse in the coverage.
Okay, so I'll approve it and I'll amend my motion for $10,000 max cap and the additional officer.
10,000 is the max increase.
Yes.
Okay.
a second.
Awesome.
Fair. All right, any thoughts? Report from project manager on progress of the district administration building.
One moment. Director, we'll give the project, the building update. I'll try to make it fairly quick. As you know, we got a lot more stuff to cover. The good news is that our plan has always been projecting March 15th as a move-in date. They are moving that up to probably the end of February.
Never happens.
It's going to happen because now that everything is covered, not really a weather issue anymore. They can always work indoors, so there won't be any days that they can't work. There won't be any rain delays. Completed tasks since last month. The storefront and exterior windows are complete. The first and second floor framing is complete, so all the framing walls are in. Second level roofing is complete. The storm shelter masonry is complete. There's no action items or requests for the board to take any action this month. By the way, I know that President Perry and I think maybe Scott are going to attend next week's WCID meeting. It'll be on Thursday, and we're going to have it at 9 a.m. One thing I wanted to bring up. Please tell me if you have any specific questions. The one thing we did take out the requested by the board last month. The amount has been reduced by $18,022 for removal of the bulletproof.
Let's not talk about that. If we want to talk about that, let's go into closed session to talk about security issues, but I don't want to, sorry to interrupt, but I don't want to talk about that.
Okay. That's what I got. They're putting stone and brick on the building now. They'll putting in drywall probably in about 2 weeks. So I think they're moving on. Any questions for anybody? And the power, we finally got the easement from Pines and COSA. Power will go in next week.
Okay, so that's
That's a big one.
that's new.
The elevator will be delivered the first week of November.
We won't have to cut anybody's power this time, hopefully, right?
It shouldn't, because it should be out coming from Highway 380 in, so it shouldn't. I don't think there's anything else there. That's all I got to report. Unless there's any questions.
Ron, you said February 15th?
They're moving it up a month.
Okay. I kept that in my pocket enough.
I wanted to report some good news. They told me that for several months, but really said maybe don't hold it yet. So now they probably can make that public.
Okay.
I figured they probably had some time to catch up. We hadn't had a lot of rain.
Yeah.
Mhm. Thinking about it.
So we've been thinking February for quite a few months, but just never said anything. Now they say we'll be.
So, no. Motion to approve budget manager report.
I'll make a motion.
Second. Any opposed? Review and approve Reimbursement payment to district developers for road facility construction.
So I emailed you guys today about the tartness of it, but we were waiting for the information but this is in regards to the annual payment we make we're reimbursing to the developers. Since your bond cap capacity was reached on the bond reimbursement, you're still required for the development agreements to use a legal method available in order to reimburse them. So in 2019, the district agreed with developers to make this annual payment to help reimburse on community roads now that that cap had been reached. That agreement was 3 cents of tax per year. With the idea that that payment would go up every year because of the increased value. And so every year, Brian Repair is here, the politician or auditor. He works with the developer and the engineer to determine, the amount of reimbursement and which developer each percentage is going to be reimbursed. And so that percentage is included in this report. So this report is similar to a report you get for a bond sale, where it provides the foundation for you to determine, or to tell you who is entitled to the reimbursement and how much they should get. And so I work with Brian on running through all of the reimbursement agreements and assignments, and that's on the first 18 pages or so on here. That shows, at the end of it, this is the developer that is entitled to this specific money, let's say Arrowbrooke Phase 3. And so you look at that, iron that out, and then the next schedules A through F go through each of the individual developers. It shows the project, the contractor, how much was spent by the developer that's eligible for reimbursement, how much has been previously reimbursed, and in some cases, this is the final payment for this year. So for 3 of the developers, this is going to be it for them. Field Street, which was Savannah Town Center. You had CHS Savannah, which is now called Riverside, but they had some areas in Arrowbrooke, Savannah. And then CHS was another finance entity that had some regular reimbursements, so they are being paid out as well. So going forward, you're only going to have Inwood Plaza, which is Steel Parkway. We're going to have Bloomfield, which is all in Arrowbrooke. And then the other one is Comanche Bridge, which is Arrowbrooke as well. That's the Hunt Lines development route for Arrowbrooke as well. And so each one of these schedules goes through and determines how much is going to be owed out of this total pool for this year by the percentages that have been established. Brian reviews all the costs spent to make sure that, hey, these actually were spent, eligible for reimbursement, and they're in this report. And so what this provides the foundation for the board to decide this is who gets reimbursed, and this is how much they get reimbursed out of this year's reimbursement pool.
We paid a couple on, but we're still going to collect 3 cents and use that full money to pay off the other balances.
Yeah, because there's still about $8 million to be paid. And so you think with more increases to value, maybe that gets closer to $900,000, $1 million a year. You're looking at 9 years more. I mean, we could renegotiate with them, but then you're just stretching out, interest and payments.
We could renegotiate. To me, that means
sense to renegotiate with them, but I don't think that they would be welcome to that. But what's our interest rate? Are they? So it's 2 points. So what are we based on? And based on the bond sale interest for that 2019 last load bond, and it was 2.49. 2.75. Sorry, right? A little piece of that's that was a good time. Yeah, was a good time. So I don't write anything bad or nothing. It's going to be doing at least to the rules. So I'm having interest. Maybe the cost would exceed 5 years. So that is one kind of thing we have right now. So anything that was that, a lot of previous costs, the ones from the 2019 original reimbursement request, multiple projects have caps already on any plan. Everything that's sitting up was post 2019. These new costs were included. Most of them are below, I think, even 2 years. So they're pretty newer costs. So you don't really run into that issue in terms of potentially coming back to them and discussing it. Hopefully we would have an issue with interest caps. So we apply it strictly for the utility bond. If that makes sense. Yeah. So if the board were to approve this distribution tonight, I'm still waiting to get, each developer will provide me, provide the board a receiving release that says they are getting this money and now the debt has been satisfied for that amount. So this will be the final one for 3 of them, and then we'll keep on going for the next ones, but we're not going to release the money until we get those releases from them.
Yeah, I noticed it was good news that we're at least paying off. That's good news.
So it's a good thing, bigger shots. Yeah, and the other next 2 years.
For a lot of work. This the other.
Well, it was really in 2019 to get all the developers on board, get each one to agree on the same terms, get them to agree to the percentages, but every year it just kind of, it's, I don't know, every year, so it's every year, but at first it was, and like, most of this language is repetitive from the year before. So, funded well budgeted, so, yes, sir.
Any more questions?
The motion would be if you want to make a motion to approve the report, authorize distribution, pending getting this. Yeah, and but you have a board representation letter here, so it just says a developer is responsible for studying that original summary and telling us what is reimbursable. We'll look at it obviously and deduct sales tax or anything like that, we know. Not reimbursable, it's not subject to it. But essentially, it's that all we weren't aware of anything that could affect the report, and they don't let it go. So you should have a copy. I think we had that here, so it'll be fine. Yeah. I just want to we have a policy to your assignments.
Next, I make a motion to approve the report and authorize that distribution subject to whatever receipt sheeting. So,
Any opposed? Motion passes. Report from Transit Consulting Group.
Good evening, everybody. First thing I want to say is the tracker report was kind of long this month, but everything Rob talked about in his report kind of addresses the items that are in there. We had issues with parking. There were some reports of pedestrian concerns around school. A couple things on street lights. There was a trash item, I believe. So all of those have kind of been checked off. So on the tracker portion of the report, you'll see way more closed than open, which is how we like it to go. They come in, they get processed, and then they get checked off the list. So that's all good news. The other thing is, following the discussion last month, we merged everyone from the non-emergency alerts, that was just meeting notice alerts, into the master list. It didn't actually change the total count. Total count was total count. But this month, we sent the special meeting notice and then this meeting notice to the whole of the list. So you will see also on the analytics that there was a big spike in traffic to the site on that would have been the whatever I sent about the special meeting. So it worked. Hopefully people are getting me.
Clearly, I didn't.
Yeah, no, you did. That's what I look for on that chart. I don't care if it's just like boring, but when there's a sudden spike, I'm like, what happened on that day? And that's what it was for that first one. The second one's not captured in the analytics from this month because we'll see it next month. But the alert didn't go out to like Friday. So anyway, that's underway. A couple things from tonight that I want to recommend. Once you start to talk through the parks guidelines and rules, whatever comes to pass with that, I think it might be time to segregate the Arrowbrooke Park on a separate page on the website. Communications committee, we can talk about that offline. But particularly if there are specific issues, it's becoming more of a problem, but also a positive feature. We may just want to highlight it a little bit better.
Its own.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because, it's in with other parks right now, but it probably needs a little more prominence. The other thing I wanted to suggest, let me find my notes. Sorry. So the tree limbs that are being dumped in the green belt, I think we should maybe just put out a little education on here's the proper way to dispose of your yard waste. Waste Connections has resources for this. You can, bundle and all that. So I would like to just go ahead and put something out on that as well. Just try to help with, bad behavior. Questions for me tonight.
You made a comment at our meeting about our first video and how many views it had.
I should share that. So we posted that video on Friday afternoon after your Thursday meeting. It was probably late in the afternoon. By Sunday, there had already been 170 views of it, which kind of blew my mind. And it was up to like 220 by the following week. So that's tremendous traffic. I would have expected, I don't know, maybe 30 or 40. Very, very surprised to see that. I have not looked, I'm sorry to tell you that I haven't looked at what the special meeting got. But if it's anything similar, it seems to be a good call. There seems to be a warm response to the idea of it. And so I think it was the right thing to do. I'm sure once you're settled in the new building and you have the better, more sophisticated technology, it will continue to grow. So
The view count when I watched it for 10 minutes was the whole thing.
no, it's just that they went to it once, but
Does it count? Does it tell? Is it able to identify? And that's such a good number. I'm not overly concerned about it. Just out of curiosity, different IP addresses. So if the same IP address came and looked at it 5 and 7 times,
I'll
it's just
confirm.
hits. Okay,
I'm pretty sure it's just hits.
it's still a great number. But
It wasn't somebody's grandma watching over and over.
It was a particularly riveting meeting.
Brandon didn't go and watch it 199.
Not my grandma. So
Whatever, we'll take it. But no, I that was a strikingly large number to me.
I think that's
I not
great.
expected anywhere near that.
I think that's great. I think that shows a lot for that program. So that's something that I look forward
Yeah,
to.
positive response for sure. Any other questions?
The last one, weren't you talking about updating the Ask the Board feature?
So do you want to weigh in
Yeah,
there?
I'll pick that up. So we, based on what Jonathan had brought up, there's a possibility that we could do to make that, a more usable feature than the way using the verbiage and stuff that Jonathan had created and allowing it to come in and then running them through and per se some of the responses to make sure we get the traffic out. We're going to develop the appropriate verbiage and run it to Jonathan after the communications meeting this month and let Jonathan approve that and then restart the Ask the Board feature and that methodology.
That answered your question. I think that was the straight from the horse's mouth. That's the word.
district policies, we talked about moving those so they're easier to find.
I ran into a small hiccup with that, but I will get it done. It just delayed a little bit. But, and that is another place where, when we get the park rules, that's going to need to be highlighted. And so, important to find a better, more prominent place for the regulations. Any other questions? I don't have any action or anything tonight other than I'm just going to do the things I told you I was going to do. Thanks again. Let me know if there's anything else you'll need.
15, discussion on use of district intellectual property.
I'm gonna have to. I haven't had a chance to really look at it. I know that maybe
This was on you.
yeah, it was. Brandon brought it up to look at trademarking or getting control of the district logo and where it's used and how it's used. And so we talked about that, and I just need to dig more into that. So that is on my list. It's fine.
Number 16, discussion regarding painting of curbs by residents.
And so I brought this to the board, and I've been in Savannah a while, long enough to know that it's very dark at night, and there's frequently complaints about finding houses in the dark. I think Anik spoke about, numbers on the plaques are hard to read because they're faded. On the mailbox, they may or may not be there. So to me, it's a safety issue, but also a navigational aid so that you don't get your neighbors glove order or that the ambulance can show up to the right place when they need it. will be a
allowing them to?
I would like to adopt some kind of formal policy to say, yes, we are okay with it if it's a white background on black letters, or people can get kind of crazy and fancy with painting their curbs. So I think you have to put some kind of box on it or
I
something.
was just going to maybe do mine someday, so am I not allowed to?
Well, and I'm going to say, I think there's two pieces. Correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, we want to tie in with the HOAs on that to set the standard as the same, because do the HOAs have any input in that at all?
I mean, it's a public street, so
Yeah.
they really don't have any input now. It would be nice, it may be nice to include them just to make sure that things don't get out of control.
Yeah.
It's public property, so you're not supposed to, it's like if you put graffiti on it, really.
Yeah, you're not supposed to notice it.
Or you're not allowed to paint it.
Right.
Okay.
But I mean, you see it in all different cities and neighborhoods and stuff. They put Texas Tech, unfortunately, with Texas Tech or so I think that, you can control it a little bit, but then,
Police is it.
So you want to keep it narrow?
I think my opinion would be as narrow as possible. In uniform, something that says this is what we would
So
prefer.
no school prize, no Texas background.
There's a run.
Rebels.
Maybe 30 or so people did it.
It's a good side
It
hustle.
was
You make money.
consistent. It was consistent at least. And it was just black and white background, and then black and white like numbers, and that was it.
People get very involved with it, so yeah.
And I don't have a problem with it if we want to set some guidelines. And then if the people want to paint their curb, as long as we set the guidelines for what it's going to be. I don't think it would hurt to make sure that, we visit with the HOAs before or as a part of the process and get them, just on board and so they understand as well.
Can we put some together for next month, whatever policy and
Locations and colors.
Colors. I think locations might be a big thing. If people put it in front of their house and not like on the side of their driveway or something. There's a lot of streets where you wouldn't even see it anyway because of the cars that are parked on the curb in front of the curbs all night long.
That's true. So, we'll go through some guidelines.
You have real curbs.
In front of my house, yeah.
I know.
No, we have. It's not. If you were to paint it, and you're driving down the street, you won't see it as well because the way our curbs are, they're just what do we call that? That has a name.
Just a slope.
Mm.
I don't know, but I have a cutout, but I have a curb right prior to the cutout. So I mean,
You have a traditional curb.
Yeah.
I think we can just look at it and come up with something.
I'll send you pictures of what Arrowbrooke already did.
Okay. It's so many evidence.
No action tonight. 17, discuss and consider the meeting location.
Yeah, I would, just getting down here tonight, I definitely consider moving it back up to Savannah on the north side of 380.
Yeah, so I brought this one as well, and it kind of doesn't sit right with me that we don't meet in the district. I think that's a little bit of a public disservice. I think we should meet in the district. Having said that, this is a very nice facility. The clubhouse may or may not, work for what we're paying here. I think we're paying $175.
150 or 175, yeah.
I think I saw 175 in the invoice plus. We have to configure the room, and there's a little bit extra hassle there. So you would really have to make sure that the price is worth it. And I don't know if the HOA can beat that.
I think from my perspective, we're looking at having a meeting here until February. We're looking at 4 more months, basically 3 more months. So from my standpoint, for consistency of the people that come to the meetings and everything else, and at the same token that you're not holding it in a specific community clubhouse versus the district building, I think we just have it here for the next until February, and if February will be in the building, the new building, the actual Elm Ridge district building. And so I think that's the best play here because we're only looking at a few more months.
By the time you get it approved through.
It might be more confusing than to just your basic,
Might be
you should
different
be in the district. I agree.
Yeah, I can see that too. I definitely see that.
It's way closer for you guys, but for me, for other people, this is easier to get to. They're not from much. It's way.
Well, I can tell you by the time I left, I was in Dallas doing some work at my regular job. If we would have had it in Savannah tonight, I wouldn't have made it.
Yeah, it's farther.
Yeah,
Right?
so I would have had to make different arrangements. And I mean, we would if we knew that's where it was going to be. But I think the point is we're only here for November, December, January, and then, I don't know what date the February meeting would be based at this, so 4 months. And then let's just run with this and we move it to the district building.
Brandon Dollar, did you have something?
I was just going to say, if you're worried about what Savannah would say, yes or no, ask. Yes. Rather than assume, because we can give you an answer, whether it's $1, the $0, or whatever that you're paying now. So your cost came down, and then recently we have discussed it, and I would say don't worry, be standing to death, asking.
Sounds like they'd like to host us. Probably, but it's time frame. Kind of agreeing that to change because it's confusing to we talk about where's the meeting.
Yeah, I get it. I just wanted to talk about it, but I definitely see your concern. So I think no action here.
So, as you know, we've been working on minutes of the fire protection agreement with Aubrey, with Long Creek and Providence Village. In your packets, you'll see the proposed amendments to the fire protection agreement. Just to run through some of the high points. Providence, once they have entered into a new interlocal agreement with Aubrey, they will be released from the contract. The Paloma districts will be holding their election in November, and in order to approve their Little Elm fire contract, it makes sense for them to do that. Aubrey will be moving out of the naval station at some point in the next year, August, and so they won't be there to provide services to Paloma. And so Paloma will be going to Little Elm, assuming that their election passed on the 5th. If for some reason a district over there does not pass, then always has volunteered to say we will continue servicing them. There's some agreement with Little Elm, we'll work that out, but they've obviously committed to continue to do that if necessary for some reason those elections don't pass. It talks about resolving the outstanding lawsuits. We're going to enter into a motion to discuss that, the agreement of all the parties. It talks about the ongoing fire protection services, which for Elmer is, I think, 1332 for connection throughout the contract at the end of 2025. And we will, we are starting to talk about the being done. We're starting to talk about what the future contract is going to look like for Arrowbrooke, and the status of Artesia is obviously with cluster. Fire truck, you're going to continue to make your fire truck payments throughout the term of this contract. Long Creek will not be making any more of those payments, so they will be getting out of the contract. And that is pretty much the gist of it. Do you have any questions on which one about this at length?
When was the meeting again?
Their election is November 5th. So when they go to the election draw and all the fun stuff on November 5th, this will be a part of it November 12th.
No other questions? Yeah, the 1332 is what we were paying before.
Right, that was the payment that goes back to I think last year at some point, and so we just wanted to make sure that if Elbridge is staying in the contract, but the moment is coming out, we didn't want Elbridge to have to assume the cost as well. So that was important, just to make sure that with other parties, Providence and Paloma that are reading, Elbridge is still has the same rate.
It's quite a bit less than Little Elm.
Yes. Little Elm will be, with the new contract we're into, they will, I think they're starting Paloma at, I think 16, 17. I don't remember exactly what it is, but it's somewhere around there. So
Yeah, that's a pretty good win, I think. Questions or comments?
Make a motion.
I thought you were.
I make a motion to approve the Fifth Amendment to the Fire Protection Services Agreement. And then the approval of documents related to current litigation.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? 1920.
Yes, Mr. President, I would recommend that we go into closed section for 5 items. One, 5 items, and 4. And not going to discuss.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Do I have a motion to come out of executive session?
Make a motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
On the matter of Putnam Place, do I have a motion? Motion, we accept the offer.
I'll go second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I recuse.
Motion passes. John. On the personnel, so Putnam Place pass.
Yeah.
So our last.
No action on the personnel issues, so we're on future agenda items.
I would like to invite Chief Slaughter from Aubrey Fire Department to present for future services.
That's an agenda item. Okay.
Because he'll present. I'll invite him.
I'd like to add the school zone sign that Chief Kennedy talked about. So we need to add that, and then the illuminated crosswalk sign around school.
Oh, flashing.
Yeah.
Anything else? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
I will second.
All in favor?
Aye.